The date, February 24th, 2010, is a day that SeaWorld and the world of marine animal training will never forget. This is when Dawn Brancheau, a beloved and dedicated trainer, tragically lost her life in a devastating accident involving one of the animals she cherished most. Join us today as we dive into the life of Dawn Brancheau, her remarkable career and legacy, and the tragic incident that led to her untimely death. The beginning. Born on April 16, 1969 in Cedar Lake, Indiana, Dawn was the youngest of 6 children, and when she was a kid, Dawn watched Shamu on TV and fell in love with the orcas because she was just an animal lover at heart. Dawn was the star student, student leader, and happy girl growing up, and while studying at the University of South Carolina, she opted for psychology and animal behavior as her specialization. Before joining SeaWorld, Dawn trained dolphins at the Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, and she joined SeaWorld Orlando in 1994, initially working with otters and sea lions for 2 years. After that, she switched to orcas in 1996 and revamped the show's whole Shamu concept and was the trainer of orcas, the killer whales that included Tilikum, her alleged murderer. You can't dive in water if you don't trust them, and they don't trust you in turn. Dawn once told this to a TV reporter with pride in her eyes, and it was her mistake, or probably the whale didn't agree with her idea of trust. It was definitely an accident that can happen to anyone, but this time, it was a killer show in front of a huge audience, as Dawn didn't know that she was training one of her beloved non-human friends for the last act of her life. She definitely had a special relationship with the orcas she worked with, treated them as her children. That's what her secret to earning their trust was. She was one to be loved by the sea creatures and the audiences alike. She was young, happy, and always smiling, diving up and down in the water and playing with the orcas, and always made people wonder how human-friendly these creatures were. But fate had a different story for her. Before we get into the accident, do you think humans and animals can actually develop trust? Let us know in the comments below. The accident. On February 24th, 2010, the day of the accident, Dawn was present in the show with her beaming smile, entertaining her audience with her funny friends. Tilikum and Dawn performed the whole Dine with Shamu show, and this was the most anticipated act of SeaWorld, as Tilikum was the largest among all other orcas. People were sitting in the open-air restaurant, watching both of them playing and Dawn feeding Tilikum. As the show was about to end, Dawn was found lying at the pool's edge, rubbing Tilikum's head. People enjoyed their meals watching this scene, admiring the beautiful friendship of a giant-sized fish and a human. Dawn was relaxing on a slide-out, tapping Tilikum's head, probably thinking of going home after the show, but she was unaware of what was about to happen next. The whole scene was caught on camera, when all of a sudden, Tilikum grabbed Dawn by her hair and pulled her into the water. People started shouting. The management panicked and they ran to Dawn's rescue. More than a dozen people saw Tilikum underwater, holding Dawn in its mouth. The employees threw nets and food into the water to distract the giant killer, but it didn't release Dawn. While moving from pool to pool, the management of SeaWorld somehow directed the orca to a relatively smaller pool, where they could calm it down and rescue Dawn, who by then seemed unconscious. After almost 45 minutes and hard efforts, Tilikum finally released Dawn's lifeless body. What do you think made Tilikum kill Dawn? Share your thoughts down below. Cause of death. Dawn's lifeless body was finally recovered from the pool, and the autopsy report revealed some of the most painful details alongside the cause of death. Dawn's death cause, as stated in the report, was death by drowning, but this was not the whole truth. She had blunt force trauma in the head, causing her to get unconscious. One can only imagine the force of a 22.5-foot long, 12,500-pound heavy giant orca attacking a woman, leading to her scalp being completely separated from her head. Her spinal cord was badly severed. She had sustained multiple fractures in different parts of her body, including her jaw, cervical vertebra, and her ribs. It must have been a painful death, as she had been drowned and severed by the star of her show. Dawn's left arm was bitten off and her left knee was dislocated. She was a human mush, matter of minutes. Can you imagine what made Tilikum do that type of brutal behavior to his human friend? It definitely has a background. Stay tuned till the end of this video, and you might think that Tilikum was a victim rather than a killer. How would that make you feel? Let us know in the comments below. After death. Dawn was buried in Illinois, and no trainer was entered in the pool with Tilikum till its death in 2017. Dawn was the last human to perform alongside the orca. SeaWorld immediately banned trainers from entering the pool with orcas. This was a usual run-of-the-mill process to dust off any injuries suffered by the trainers, but questions about their safety protocols surfaced rapidly. The ban has been further reinforced by OSHA as they intervened in the investigation process. OSHA, in its 2007 report, has already mentioned that swimming alongside captive orcas is inherently dangerous. But this was challenged and won by SeaWorld, hence no law was made to be implemented by these entertainment entities to avoid mishaps. Following these deaths, SeaWorld was fined $75,000 by OSHA, but it meant nothing keeping in view the earnings of this giant corporation. SeaWorld kept appealing against the ban on trainers' direct interaction with the orcas, as it was their star show, but appeals were rejected by the courts of law. Brancheau's husband did hire a lawyer to litigate her wrongful death, but did not pursue it. Orcas are named killer whales for a reason, and captive ones show a long history of being hostile towards their trainers. Tilikum was rescued as a calf from a net in eastern Iceland. He was only 2 years old. He was then kept in a tank at a marine zoo. He was transferred to the sea land in Oak Bay, Canada. Here he was held captive alongside 2 older female orcas. Whales, unlike other animals, have a matriarchal social structure. Young Tilikum was abused by these older whales to the extent that he limited himself to a very small medical pool for protection. These whales were aggressive towards Tilikum and made him hostile and frustrated. Here the first fatality happened. A young trainer named Kelty slipped into the orca's pool and started screaming when she realized that one of the orcas was holding her foot and dragging her into the water. Rescue efforts were in vain, as the orcas never let go of Kelty's body. She was evacuated the next day through a net just to find out that they had bitten her to death. The authorities brushed off the incident as an accident. Soon after that, Sealand closed its operation and sold it out. Sealand acquired the fish, claiming concerns about Tilikum's health and captive conditions in 1992. Here in 1999, the second death associated with Tilikum was reported. A 27-year-old man from South Carolina named Daniel was hiding in the SeaWorld. He was, as claimed by SeaWorld, a trespasser who climbed into the pools of orcas and drowned. But this perception was challenged later as his body was brutally mutilated by the captive killer whales. This was as horrible as you can imagine. Daniel's severed body was spotted draped over Tilikum's back the next morning. Was this his way to show off his power over humans? Tilikum was kept in isolation for the longest time and returned to performing in 2011 without any trainer. He kept performing alongside his daughter and grandson till 2016. Later that year, SeaWorld announced the deteriorating health of Tilikum, and he died in 2017 due to a bacterial infection in his lungs. Dawn was the third and last fatality associated with Tilikum. Authorities treated each event as an individual accident until 2013. It was at that time that light was shed on the killings. During that year, Blackfish, an investigative documentary that unveils many aspects concerning the death of Dawn and many more relating to captive orcas, was released. According to the documentary, a life was lost that day, and the director of the documentary claimed that Tilikum's grabbing Dawn by her hair as a conjunction was a hurtful thing to say for the family of the deceased. The family released a statement after the release of the film stating that Dawn's 15 years of service at SeaWorld proves that the whales were well cared for. Her death was a trajectory of recalibration for SeaWorld. The release of Blackfish ignited a national dialogue. Some famous musicians canceled their shows at SeaWorld, and constant litigation from animal rights activists was another issue. Following the bill for discontinuing breeding practices of orcas, proposed in the House of Representatives in 2015, SeaWorld announced in 2016 that it is limiting its scope to rescuing, working against commercial whaling and seal hunts, shark finning, and ocean pollution. Brancheau's family established the Dawn Brancheau Foundation in her honor. The foundation is dedicated to improving the lives of children and animals in need, inspiring others to follow their dreams, and promoting community service. Dawn Brancheau's story is a reminder of the powerful bond we can share with nature and the potential dangers when that balance is disrupted. Dawn Brancheau's tragic story underscores the risks and complexities of human-animal relationships and her dedication to marine life that left a lasting impact, sparking national conversations on animal captivity. The Dawn Brancheau Foundation continues her legacy promoting the welfare of children and animals, and her story led to significant changes at SeaWorld, highlighting the need for ethical animal treatment. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content, and let us know who you want to cover next.